Today is all about inspiring people, empowering people, taking it to the next level, baby. Friends and family, I got the one and only. That's right, the one and only Bart Foster. Tune in today because we're talking about business outside, baby. Let's go. This is a Defocus Media production.
Audio Jungle.
What's up, everyone? It's your favorite optometrist, Dr. Daryl Glover.
And I'm Dr. Jennifer Lyerly, resident optometry nerd.
And welcome to Defocus Media, optometry's #1 podcast, where we discuss the hottest topics, latest technology, eyewear, practice management, and more. So sit back, relax, and defocus. What's up, everyone? It's your favorite optometrist, Dr. Daryl Glover. Super excited today because we have an incredible show in store for you. We have a well-known person in eye care that every time I go to a conference, I see this young man out there inspiring people, motivating people, and most importantly, empowering people. You see, today's podcast is all about becoming a better person, becoming a better team. And it's only right to have one guy that has changed the game for everyone in healthcare, and that's my guy, Bart Foster. How you doing today, Bart?
There you go, man. I'm glad you called me young. That's good.
Hey, man, you're young and handsome, man. Welcome to the club, baby.
I feel like I'm getting older, but it's good. All right, I'll take it. Let's go.
So, man, super excited to have you on the show. Again, I've seen you do so much from afar. It feels real great to actually sit down and be able to have a conversation with you today. Because I'm anxious to learn a little bit more about how you make the magic happen on the back end with all these amazing organizations, but also to learn a little bit more about your journey because you have a hell of a background. You know, just looking at you online on LinkedIn and seeing all the work you've done and all the leadership and all the development, I must say, my friend, it's pretty impressive. No lie.
Thanks, buddy.
Hey,
yeah,
man.
Appreciate it.
Well,
I started my career in the eye care industry back in, it's been 2002.
Okay.
And I joined the eye care division of Novartis. It was called Ciba Vision, which we all know as Alcon now.
I remember.
And that's how I got started. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, let's take it from the beginning, man. Let's learn a little bit more about you. If you don't mind, maybe sharing where you're from, your education, and maybe even a fun fact, right? I like to make this fun. I like to make this interesting. Tell us something that no one knows about you, if you don't mind sharing.
Oh, wow. All right. Let's go.
Let's get it.
So grew up in Illinois until I was 8, moved to California until I was about 13. My parents got divorced. I moved with my mom out to Florida and went to high school and college out in Florida. I met my wife in 9th grade. That's something that not a lot of people know. And went to University of Florida. I was always an entrepreneur and worked all through school and selling all the different things. And I was a lifeguard on the beach and I sold high school graduation trips down to Cancun in the Bahamas, and I worked in Cancun over the summers and just got the entrepreneurial bug. But I joined Kellogg's out of school, sold cereal and Rice Krispie treats and Pop-Tarts and all the things they said were healthy for you. And they moved me from Florida to Texas to Michigan, and I kept, getting promoted. And but I read a magazine you may have heard of, Fast Company.
Yeah.
And back in 1999, it was about that thick because the .com was taken off and everyone wanted to advertise. And there was one issue that became actually famous, and it was called Brand You.
Okay.
And it had you on the front, the whole thing. And it basically said, if you're at a big company and you're good, you're wasting your time, you should join this .com revolution. Right? I'm a little older than you, I think, but this .com thing was taken off, man. And I found an internet grocery company. You may have heard of Instacart.
Yeah.
We were Instacart 15 years too early.
Oh, wow.
So market tanked. I saw the writing on the wall. In Atlanta, that's where I was living.
Okay.
You've got to manage your commute. And the traffic is really bad in Atlanta. I didn't want a long commute. I'm driving around literally outside my neighborhood, and I see the eye care division of Novartis.
Okay.
And I'm thinking, oh, wait a minute, I wear contact lenses. Maybe I could get a job in there. And I weaved my way in. I started in marketing. I was on the lens care side, selling solutions to clean your contact lenses.
Okay.
Right. And I thought I would do a 3-year marketing stint, move on, do something entrepreneurial. I got in there
Right.
And I realized, I was like, wait a minute, this is a global company. Maybe I could live overseas. And I started telling everybody I know, and they gave me a chance to move to the UK. I moved to England.
Oh, nice.
Walmart was my biggest customer. They said, help us figure out a way to drive traffic from our store into the vision center. Right. And they said, a rising tide floats all boats. You're the biggest contact lens company there is. And I'm in Birmingham, England in 2004. And I'm sitting in the back of a room. And then we had a bunch of consultants, and they were on a whiteboard, and they were trying to brainstorm how can we send people from the Walmart store into the vision center, because very few people even know they have a vision center.
Right.
And I raised my hand. I said, guys, what if we had a kiosk and it would screen your vision? And it would tell you if you're, what your visual acuity is. But then it would say, hey, because you're over 40 and you're African-American, you're 8 times more likely to have glaucoma. Here's what glaucoma means. And it was so clear in my head. And they wrote it down. They're like, oh yeah, that's cool. And that became a business that I incubated inside Novartis. And I eventually spun out and became an entrepreneur, started a company called Solo Health. And I'm happy to go into more of that, but that's sort of the journey.
Wow.
And I can take you where I got here, because there's a lot behind the scenes.
Yeah. I mean, clearly entrepreneur spirit is in you. It's been there since birth, it sounds like, right? It sounds like you've traveled quite a few places. Love Cancun, can't lie about that. Haven't been to the UK yet, but fun fact, my wife, she's Nigerian, but she's actually born in Birmingham, England. Her father was a professor at one of the schools out there. So she was out there for a decent amount of time, and we got to make it out there at some point in time again, or some point in time in the future, because I haven't been there yet, and she's ready to get back. But today, man, I really wanted to spend some time on learning about your journey and seeing where everything started from. But I really want to jump into this business outside, right? Because I see this all the time at Vision Expo, different events. And I really want to dive deep into, why it's important to engage with people, why it's important to inspire people, and why it's important to empower people. Because I feel like in the current climate where we're at when it comes to healthcare, it's greatly needed. And I feel like those 3 touch points can really elevate a person, but most importantly, change a practice, complete 180 essentially, right? So I'd really love to kind of dive deep into, where did this idea come from? What's the why behind it? And to kind of break down each one of those parts, if you don't mind, Bart. Are you game for that, my friend?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, let's do it, man. Let's start with the why. Why do it?
Well, part of it, I need to share a little of the origin, because I think it's important of how we got here. Right?
Yeah.
So had this vision screening kiosk, put it into the market, wasn't successful. Eventually it turned into a health and wellness station that have the blood pressure. You've probably seen the blood pressure machines, like in some of the grocery stores.
Oh, yeah.
That was my company. Yeah. And we scaled across the country, raised 50 million in capital.
Wow.
But I learned a really valuable lesson along the way. When you raise 50 million in capital, it's not your company anymore. And my chairman wanted to go a little bit bigger, and he said, you're not the guy to run it. And I got forced out of the company I founded.
Wow.
Right. And it was really painful at the time, right? Because without the CEO title, right, who am I? But that put me on an introspection journey of, like, what do I really value?
Yeah.
And what is my zone of genius? So oftentimes there's things we love, there's things we hate. Your zone of genius is things you love and you're great at. And I realized that I'm actually pretty good at managing people. I just don't like it. Right. I'm terrible at finance and I hate it. Right. But it put me on this path, and we ended up finding Boulder, Colorado. Shortly after I moved here, I was reaching out to people because I didn't know what I was going to do next.
Sure.
And I would say, hey, do you want to have coffee? I want to have lunch. And this one woman, she said, I don't do coffee or lunch. She said, meet me at the trailhead. We'll go for a hike.
Huh.
And I remember telling my wife, this is so weird. I'm going on this hiking meeting. Like, I don't know what to wear. Right. But something,
I hope you didn't wear a suit, my friend.
No, I wore my hiking, whatever. But something special happened that day, right? Because I'm walking shoulder to shoulder.
Yeah.
I'm more authentic. I'm more vulnerable. And there's something about being in nature. And I say now, motion creates emotion.
Oh.
And I
Okay.
came home and I told my wife, like, I was so energized. And I back up to the mountains. I live in Boulder. And now when entrepreneurs would call me, I started doing it myself. I'd say, hey, just meet me at the trailhead. And I'd have them meet real early. We go for a sunrise hike, right?
Yeah.
And I would learn, and we were doing business outside.
Okay.
But the genesis of business outside. So we're in the middle of COVID. It's April or something. And I'm on my 5th Zoom call of the day. It's 70 degrees outside. And I'm thinking, I do not want to be on another Zoom call.
Right.
And I texted the 2 people and I said, hey, I know this is weird. Would you mind? I'm going to go for a walk. I'm going to put a pair of AirPods. Is that okay? It might be distracting. I hope there's no wind. And they said, actually, I love that idea. I'm going to do that too.
Nice.
And I started thinking, well, wait a minute. Why don't we do this all the time? And then I was with a friend and I told him, I'm going to write a column for Outside Magazine and it's going to be called Business Outside. And he
I
said,
love
no,
it.
don't do that. He said, they're just going to steal the idea. He said, go get the trademark. And he helped me realize that it's not just outside of nature. It's out of our comfort zone, outside of corporate norms and doing things differently. So that's the genesis. And then that will take us to, I think, what you want to talk about, which is, what is this all about? Why am I doing it? And
Yeah.
how can people on this podcast, how can they take this into their practice and be better versions of themselves?
Well, before we get too deep
Sure.
into that, a couple things. You hit 2 phrases that I love. And one was the zone of genius.
Yeah.
Wow. We need to really be able to capture that and hone in on that and understand what that means. I think everyone in the world needs to take some time to figure that out. And the other,
Yeah,
go ahead, fire away.
it was coined by a guy named Gay Hendricks, the zone of genius. And if you think there's 4 quadrants, right? And there's things we love, there's things we hate, there's things we're terrible, and there's things we're great at. In that top right quadrant, you're great and you love it. And the best companies, they allow their employees to craft their job so that they're in their zone of genius. Because if we're in our zone of genius, 90% of the time, we're going to be happier, healthier, more productive. The problem is most companies, particularly big companies, they put you in a box. Oh, he's the finance guy. And it's like, well, yeah, but he sucks at PowerPoint. He can't do this. Well, let's recraft the job, right? So that's your zone of genius. And I actually think, Daryl, we have a moral responsibility that if it's not in our zone of genius, it's in someone else's.
Yes.
So anyway.
Yeah, no, I love that. When I think about that zone of genius, it almost reminds me of, I think, what is it called? It's called like the Eisenhower matrix, where you sit
Okay.
down and you think about things that you need to do, right? To your point, you have that grid. And in this one area, these are high priority things, right? That you need to do and knock out. Over here, there's somewhat high priority things, and down below, or you can delegate this or give someone else to do it, but it's allowing you to operate really in your strength of your strengths more than anything, rather than your weaknesses at a high level, right? And make things more efficient for you as well. Just come to mind when you mentioned that. This motion drives emotion. That needs to be on a shirt, man. That's pretty nice right there. I like that. Is that something that you coined, or is that something else that you got from one of these greats out here
I
as well?
don't know, and I'll figure that out. But now I just wrote it on a sticky note. You'll have the first shirt. How's that?
I appreciate it, man.
I'll get you the first T-shirt.
That's a good one, man, for your folks that whenever you have your various events and things like that, everyone rocks one, right? I mean, that's a solid thing, man. I love it.
I got you one. All right.
So let's jump into it, man. Let's start with engaging. How does this work with Business Outside? Kind of give me the beginning, and let's kind of work our way through.
So engagement is about genuine connection.
Okay.
People talk about networking and they'll say, oh, you're a great networker. I actually think networking is a dirty word because most people do it wrong.
Okay.
Networking is, to me, it's very transactional. It's like, oh, we should catch up sometime and here's my business card. No, that's not. People don't want to network. What they want is they want a connection and they want a relationship.
Yes.
It's different. It's different. And the difference is, to me, it's the questions that you ask. And can you get to the feeling and the emotion?
Yes.
So I'll give you an example. So think about a bell curve.
Okay.
If I had a whiteboard, I'd draw it for you, but think
All
about
right.
it. You can picture it.
I see it right here, right in front of me. It's right there. So we're good
Great.
to go, right?
All right. We're in the middle of the bell curve. The very, 70% of the conversations we have in life are right in the middle.
Okay.
How's the weather? How's your job? We should catch up sometime. That's a cool shirt. Who's going to win the Super Bowl? Are you going to go to Vision Expo? Nobody cares. Right? It's the 10% on each side, positive and negative. You get a little bit deeper. You get to the emotion. I'm mad. I'm scared. I'm pissed off. I'm angry. I'm sad. And then the 5%, the tail, that's where you rarely go.
Yeah.
And it might be, a close friend, a spouse, because you're vulnerable.
Right.
And I'll give you a quick example just so you can understand so 70%, I'm Bart. I have a company called Business Outside. I wrote a book last year. I love to hike and open water swim. I live in Boulder, Colorado. I have 2 kids, 18 and 20. I went to University of Florida, right? It's all the stuff you asked in the beginning.
Yeah.
Nobody cares. When I get to the sides, right? I feel like I'm an empty nester already. And my son's a senior in high school. I've watched him play probably 750 basketball games, and I have 15 left, and it makes me sad. And if I went to the very tail, which I already did because I wanted to go deep and vulnerable with you, I would say I founded a company and we impacted 50 million, people a year. And I got forced out of the company I founded, and I was scared and nervous and embarrassed and angry. And you guys see the difference? 70, 10, 5?
100%, man. Just like,
so all of this goes into to form a genuine connection and to really engage with people and develop deeper connections and relationships. One of the keys is to be a little vulnerable and be willing to take that mask off and be authentic and be real.
100%.
And it's been a cornerstone to my success over the last 10 years. And now I share with other people, and I'll do a keynote, like 5 secrets to deeper connection. Because if we can connect with other people, because they're craving for it. And COVID accelerated all of it. People are sitting at home, they're doing this remote work thing, and they're lonely. And we weren't meant for that.
Yeah, 100%, man. I love where you're going with this, Bart. And, I share the same thing when I'm in the exam lane, especially when I'm training doctors. I've said this historically on the show numerous times. I have something that I call the 2-minute drill, where essentially when I'm in that exam lane, to your point, I get real in that middle of that bell curve. How are you doing today? What's your name? Where are you from? What do you do? Blah, 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 blah. And then I get a little deeper into that 10% and figure out what's cooking up with that person a little more on a personal level. Then I get to that 5%, and then I make that emotional connection. And that emotional connection is what allows me to prescribe a better solution for that patient, because now they're telling me everything about their lifestyle. There's no longer me needing to guess anything, because I've broken down that trust barrier, because I'm being authentic and we're having a genuine conversation, and they know I'm going to create value to take their lifestyle to the next level. So I already see where this can work in eye care greatly. But I love what you stated, man. You really have to make an engaging conversation, but most importantly, it has to be relational. There are too many transactional relationships in life. Relational relationships is the key to success, to be able to get patients or people to really buy into who you are, but also, and most importantly, to make that connection. I love it, Bart.
You got it, man.
I love it. I love it. So kind of walk me through what it looks like for the next step here, right? Once we have this engagement and we've been able to create this relationship, what's next, and what does that process look like?
So it depends what you're trying to accomplish. The people on this call, a lot of them are, optometrists. They want better relationships with their staff. So it's going to help with retention. It's going to help with employee morale, because if you can have a good relationship, right? The foundation of a good relationship is built on trust.
Yes.
And if we can have trust, then we can have healthy conflict. And if we can have healthy conflict, then we can have shared commitments, accountability, focus on results. So it's the Patrick Lencioni's 5 dysfunctions of a team. You may have heard of this.
Oh yeah.
The foundation.
I have it somewhere back there.
You got it back there. The foundation is trust.
Yeah.
So it's all about trust. And if we have better trust with our teams, with our spouse, with our coworkers, colleagues, we can perform better.
Yeah. Yeah, you know who you should have a conversation with, which I'm pretty sure you probably already have. Justin Manning. You guys speak the same language. You mentioned the same authors. Just a genuine guy. He gets the doctor-patient relationship. He gets how to make that
You
communication
got it.
and that
So
connect.
he's actually in one of my forum groups. I run these forum groups for
Okay.
executives. We have
Yeah.
5 groups. There's 42 executives. Most of them are C-level, but Justin's in one of the groups.
Yeah.
And every month, we share family, personal, business, what's giving us energy, what's zapping our energy. And, the higher up you get in organizations, there's just not a lot of people to talk to.
Right.
And
Right.
every month we get 8 people together and we share confidentially, and we're able to really support each other. But that is a cornerstone, is building trust.
Yeah. So you engage people, you inspire people, I'm assuming by pieces of this conversation with the engagement and the relationship that you're building. But I'd like to get a little more granular when it comes to inspiration in regards to this three-pillar approach that you have with Business Outside.
I think inspiration comes from within, and if we're aligned, if we're aligned with our personal values and our zone of genius, we're going to be the happiest, healthiest, more productive. So a lot of Business Outside is about how do we live a more intentional life.
Okay.
And intentional life means, to me, that means life is happening by me instead of to me.
Mm,
And there's a distinct difference, right? To me is, oh, I hope that happens, and maybe she'll call me back. And when I get this promotion, it's like, no, no, no. Let's flip it. What do we want? And for me, it's aligned with my values, my zone of genius, or my unique ability, and then creating a life that's going to happen by me instead of to me.
Okay, so let's break that down because that's easier said than done, right? Because if that was easily done, the whole world would be running around in their purpose and feeling happy and understand their values, right? So, for folks out there that may be struggling just to get to that part, what words of advice do you have? I mean, how do they get to that part? I mean, should they take some type of personality test, mentors? I mean, like, how do you get there? Because again, there's a lot of folks that can't quite get over that hump yet.
So I was asked this numerous times. I never intended to write a book, but I did because I wrote these things down. This is like, so I'm going to explain it to you. Yes, this is it. Part of it is I would start with, what do I really value?
Okay.
And people, they toss values around. It's like, oh yeah, value. But values, and if we develop a personal value statement, it can become our North Star. And in fact, it's back there. I frame mine because it's so important to me. And once you have that, that's like a moral compass in a way. And I would start with that. What do you really value in life? And then we create a personal value statement.
Okay.
Then you look at your zone of genius and say, okay, this is what I'm great at, this is what I love. And you combine those two and you look at it and you say, okay, am I living a life that's in line with this? And one of the assessments that I like to do, so you come up with your top 6 values, and let's just say it's family and health and love and adventure, curiosity, whatever it is.
Right.
Then I'll say, okay, in the last 6 months, how much have you leaned into those values? On a scale of 1 to 5, 1 is never and 5 is always. Give everyone, in a group of 100, no one ever, maybe one person will have all 5s. It's usually 2s and 3s. And I say, guys, these are your values. These aren't
Right.
mine. You say you value them. So if you value those things, okay, I want you to pick the lowest number. And what's one meaningful step you can do to take it from a 2 to a 3 or a 3 to a 4? And
Yeah.
I don't care what the values are, but that's where I would start.
Gotcha. Yeah. I like this, and I like this for all my new graduates, all my student optometrists, or hell, student healthcare professionals, because one thing that I hear a lot of, especially being a part of my eye doctor, I help with educating about how great our brand is. But one of the main things that I hear about is work-life balance, right? And I almost feel like some people don't know what their purpose is. They don't know what their values are. And I feel like if they get that solid foundation, then understanding what true work-life balance is would be a lot easier for them. I think sometimes we're getting ahead of ourselves and we're not really taking the time to work the basics out to get to where we need to go in life, right? Just my personal opinion, but I'm curious, when it comes to creating values and finding that North Star, how's the conversations been around work-life balance? Because I know you're probably hearing a lot of that because that's a hot
Yeah.
topic in today's society.
So I don't believe in balance. I think it's integration, and I'll tell you
Okay.
why.
Okay.
The way I grew up and in my age demographic, like there was a personal you and a business you, and you leave the personal shit at home. It's
say
that's
it one more time, man, so the whole world can hear you.
But I'll tell you, I don't believe that's true. I
Okay.
think there's one you.
All right.
There's not a personal you and a business. There's one you.
All right.
And the more authentic we can be, we can bring our full selves to work.
Yes.
And we can be engaged and in that zone of genius, and we're firing all cylinders. That's the happy life, I think.
Yeah.
So it's an integrated life, and it's one that's more intentional. Now, can everybody do it? Maybe not. It's hard. You got to get to a certain spot. But I think we can make meaningful steps in that right direction. And part of it is I schedule my life first. So the things you want to do in life, right? Put those on the calendar first and make sure they happen.
Right.
Because usually it just gets all filled up with, work stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
But, and the other related point I'll say is, we talk about human resources. We're not human resources. We're humans. And right, we don't come to work as colleagues and coworkers. We're mothers and fathers and caregivers, and let's get to know each other as humans.
Yeah. We're people, man. Right.
We're people, and we all want the same thing.
Yeah.
We want to feel heard. We want to feel included. We want to feel
Absolutely.
loved. So let's get away from hey, we should catch up at the expo. Come on.
What do you say?
I'm right here.
We're not going to be able to kick it at the expo, man. Is that what you're telling me?
We
man?
can kick it, but I want to have a real conversation. I don't want to booze it up at the bar. Let's go have a real conversation. Go for a walk.
Yeah, for sure, man. You look, I'm down.
I'll have a drink or two.
I'm at the next one, man. I'm at the next one for sure.
All right.
No, this is good stuff, man. And the thing I love that you've been doing all day or all throughout this podcast is just really hitting us with key phrases and key buzzwords. I think integration is a good word that we should really implement into our day-to-day activities, right? Because to your point, it's a combination of everything, right? And you need to be able to figure out how to integrate the priorities in your life. What starts first? For me, it's all about family. I always put my family first on my calendar, and then I fill in my work, and then I fill in my friends, and then I fill in extracurricular activities. It just depends on what the priorities are at that season of life that I'm in, right? But I think it's very important to understand that concept instead of, again, what's that work-life balance? Because it is all kind of one cohesive thing, and it's just how you look at it more than anything. So let's take a spin from integration and inspiration and kind of pivot to empowering. Empowering is a strong word, and my son tells me every day that he's going to go out and empower people at school. We have this saying every morning. I always tell him when I drop him off, teamwork, he says, makes the dream work. And then I ask him, who are you? He says, I am a Rio Elijah Glover, and I am a leader. I say, what does a leader consist of? He says, a leader consists of someone with a great attitude, that's competent, that's confident, and someone that can empower others.
Boom, man.
Oh, yeah.
You got to make a t-shirt for that one.
There you go, man. We starting early, man. Hey, at some point in time, he may lead a big organization, own his own business. But even if he doesn't do that, at least he's not going to be a follower. Inside his head, he always knows he's going to be a leader. He's going to be able to walk his own walk. So I'm trying to be very, to your point earlier, intentional with making sure that he has all the right tools and resources to be successful. But with that being said, let's talk about the power of being able to empower, because we are able to do that as eye care professionals every day in the exam lane. I'm able to do that as a father every day, as a husband every day, as a brother every day, as a son every day. I feel like everybody in this world has an opportunity to empower, but I really love to get your perspective on empowerment.
I think it starts in internal and inside of us, and
Mm,
having confidence, just like your son has confidence going to school, like he's confident. If we don't have confidence in ourselves and believe in ourselves and love ourselves, it's hard to, you know, tell other people
yeah.
that. And empowerment to me comes from being in charge or in control of our own kind of destiny and our own feelings and emotions. So when something happens, are we able to separate the thoughts from the emotion and the feelings?
Mm,
And when we get triggered by something, are we empowered to actually make those changes happen? We are, but we have to know those things and learn those. And we didn't learn that stuff in school,
right.
right?
Right, right.
So
And I think to
hmm,
your point earlier, you had mentioned COVID. COVID just really messed up a lot of things, right? I think number one, it helped us figure out who we are as people, at least some of us. But it also made us, realize where, some things we need improvement on, right? And some of us were able to go in and fix those things and go empower people from understanding who we are, but some of us are still trying to get past that hump. So I know you mentioned you got to know who you are and things like that, but again, let's dive a little deeper for those that may be sitting on the sideline trying to really figure that out. I know you probably got some secret sauce in that book, and I want everyone to go out and read the book because clearly we're talking about everything in there tonight. But let's dive a little deeper into how do we get to that empowerment piece for those that may be struggling.
I think again, it goes back to understanding more about what drives us, what is our personal values, what's our purpose, right? That's going to translate into. We know what our zone of genius is. We start to lead a more intentional life. We're going to feel more empowered because it's happening by us then instead of to us. That's the key to
Yeah.
this empowerment, and we're going to flip the script on them. So I know I said it earlier, but I think it's a similar message in that the more we can flip it from being on defensive of like, oh, and there's just stuff coming at us,
Yeah.
we flip it, we lean in, we're like, I see that. Here's what's happening. I got it. Boom. And in a sense, just in a different mindset.
100%. So let me ask you this. So a lot of what we've been discussing this evening has been more about the individual. How do you take these concepts of engaging, inspiring, and empowering and scale that, right? Say there's an organization where there's 20,000 people that work for that organization. How do you take that and make that to scale? I know typically, probably the textbook answer is, you get your leaders to believe in this and they do that, but I feel like there has to be more to it because that's a big hurdle that you have to overcome. So I'm curious to know, how do you scale this concept? How do you scale these pillars in a large organization?
So it does start, that's why we work with CEOs typically, because
Gotcha.
it kind of drills down and it's changing the ethos and the culture and the mindset. And we go into these organizations and, we've done a lot of work with United Healthcare. They're gigantic, right? And we start
Yeah.
with the CEO and John Ryan and Lori and all these folks. And we've had them out to Boulder, Colorado, and we get them to think a little differently. And we focus on personal values, zone of genius, identifying, and then we build trust. And if we can build trust, right, and then we teach this healthy conflict model, those are the kind of the cornerstones to thinking a little bit differently. And that's what business outside. So business outside, it's not just outside of nature, right? It's out of our comfort zone.
Yeah.
It's outside of corporate norms. It's doing things differently. And we find that nature, it's almost like our silent partner, because when you're outside of nature, you're open, you're exploring a little bit more. Um, so that's how we do it. And then we drill that into our teams. And then we can do these things virtually too. And I mean, we do a lot of work with Alcon. We'll have a call, right? We'll have 200 people on a Zoom call, but it's not any Zoom call, right? And we'll use breakout rooms. We'll have simultaneous interpreters with multiple languages. And we're asking real questions. And we ask people to respond to real questions. We get beyond that 70%. And all of a sudden, you feel like you know someone at a human level.
Yeah.
And it's not just transactional.
Right. Well, I'll
So
tell
we
you
want to create a
exactly.
movement. We got to work with people like you.
Hey, it's a powerful experience, like Dr. Knight said, right? Anytime she speaks, the whole world listens. So clearly, she has been on one of your walks or been a part of Business Outside or
What's she doing? Is
some type
she
of
on here
event.
right now?
She's
Is
on here
she?
right now. She's on
Come
LinkedIn representing,
on.
showing
Let's
love, man.
go.
Shout out
Let's go,
to
Millie.
Dr. Millie Knight. She's a rock
Dr.
star.
Knight.
You talking about a game changer in eye care, someone that personally has inspired me, has engaged with me to make sure that I get to where I need to, and someone that has really empowered me. Dr. Knight is definitely one of those folks. The eye care industry is a better place because of her, and it's no doubt about it, my friend.
I concur.
Yeah. Well, Bart, man, this has been fantastic, man. I love this whole concept of really just understanding the importance of engagement, right? I love the concept of being able to have that inspiration, right? I love that concept of being able to empower people and bringing all of those things together to make a better you, but also make a better surrounding as well. Um, I have a question for you, man. You've done a lot of impactful work. Um, we have this segment that we call when it's time to retire your phoropter, what do you want to be known for? And basically, what is the legacy that you want to leave behind? You've done some impactful things. You've changed the game. You've done a lot in this world. I'm curious, what do you want to be known for when it's your time to hang up that phoropter, your time to retire and step away from the game, man?
I want to be known as somebody who is passionate, engaging, inspiring, who was authentic, was willing to be vulnerable, and was able to encourage millions of other people to do the same and to take off those masks and be real and be happier and healthier and most productive. I want to be known as a good friend.
Okay.
Yeah. And somebody who led with passion and enthusiasm and made stuff happen. So yeah, that's it.
I love it, man. I love it. And just having this conversation with you this evening, I can see you hitting on all cylinders on all those things that you want to be known for. So you're already ahead of the
Thanks,
game,
man.
man. So that's a beautiful thing. But
So I got a challenge for your listeners.
yeah, fire away.
Something that if I can, yeah, it's something I incorporate into a lot of the walks and the hikes and things that we do. And it's a gratitude video. Have you heard
Okay.
of this?
No, I haven't heard this. Tell me about it.
So often, we'll think of somebody, we'll send them a text and maybe an email or whatever. We write them a card. Whatever. I have realized that a lot of people that we make an impact on, they don't know. And some people that make an impact on us, and I call it a gratitude video.
Okay.
So you think of one person, and then I'd love you and your readers, everybody listening, they could do this. Think of one person in your life that has made an impact on you that you're grateful for.
Yeah.
It could be somebody in your family. It could be, some mentor of yours 20 years ago. It doesn't matter. I want you to think of one person you're grateful for. Take out your phone. Maybe when you're outside tomorrow, you're going for a walk. It's something outside. It's nice. Take a selfie video.
Yeah.
It could be 30 seconds. And I want you to share with the person why you're grateful.
I love that.
And then hit send. And I don't care if you record 5. And if you want to blame it on me and say, I heard this crazy podcast and this guy from Boulder wanted me, just do it. But I promise you, it'll create this gratitude loop. And all of a sudden, and nobody does it, but we can, and we can bring the humanity back into the workplace.
Hey, Bart, we're going to do this. As a matter of fact,
All right.
We're going to start a challenge today. And this is what I want everyone to do that's listening, right? We're gonna do this let's do it for the next month, man. And we may have to get up tomorrow and do some brainstorming, Bart, but let's create a challenge and let's get folks to pull out that phone, record that video, and send it to Defocus Media. And what we'll do is we'll post it on our social media platforms, and we want you to post it on yours as well. And let's just start something. I mean, it's the holiday season. This is the
holidays, yes.
time to do something like this. So let's make it happen. I'm going to set mine off maybe tonight or tomorrow morning, and I'm going to put it on my LinkedIn, and I'm also going to put it on Defocus Media as well. And Bart, I want you to do the same thing, and I want to share yours as well. Let's change the game together. Let's bring this industry together. Let's engage, let's inspire, and let's empower, and let's do this now. So all my friends and family out there, let's make the magic happen, baby. Let's make my man Bart proud, but most importantly, let's touch lives and change lives, because that's what we do as healthcare professionals. Bart, man, this has been special, man. I've really enjoyed this conversation with you this evening. For all my colleagues out there that may want to tap into your resources, that may want to have you as a consultant in their practice to be able to learn more and to bring their team together, what's the best contact information, my friend?
So businessoutside.com, they can go to the website, or bart-foster.com, and they can see my speaking. And and they can order the book.
Yeah. Yeah, you got a
Or
book there? Let them see them.
yes,
Show them that picture of that book
yeah.
there, man. Yeah, we want to make sure everyone checks that out. I'm gonna get my copy. I have it on the link here on Amazon, so I'm gonna check it out. But Bart, man, this has been fantastic. I'm being serious, man. We're gonna start a trend, man. Let's kick it off tomorrow morning. And let's change the eye care industry. Let's change the healthcare industry and make that magic happen, my friend.
Make it happen.
I love it, man.
Thanks.
For everyone out there, thanks so much for tuning in. It's your favorite optometrist, Dr. Daryl Glover. Stay healthy, stay positive, and stay blessed. And until next time, peace. All right, colleagues, and it's a wrap. Thank you dearly for hanging out with the D-Focus Media team. We hope truly something resonated with you. And until next time, be sure to keep it 2020, and we look forward to seeing you on the next episode.